Hey guys, welcome back to episode 5 of the Tidy Weekly, I think we said we'd call it. Today we're going to cover section 6 and 7 of the Instagram guide, mainly surrounding the different feeds like the home feed and the explore feed, engagement groups, calls to action, and I have a heap of questions that we're going to go through today. So sorry, it's been just over 7 days since my last video. I've been flat out organising the new car and the sale of my old car and everything that comes with that. So like updating domain names, email addresses, negotiating sponsorships, generating wrap-up content for Tidy7R. So the night before it got picked up, we were out filming till late at night, and we've got a really cool video coming from that. So next Sunday night we'll be dropping that video, and I really like it. It's really good. So next Sunday night, keep an eye out. I've got quite a long list of questions that are growing, so we're going to make a big dent out of that today, straight after we go through Instagram news. So you may or may not have seen that Instagram are currently trialing a new layout for your profile. I've seen both the old and the new layout on my profile over the last couple of weeks. Personally, not a huge fan of the new layout, but I assume there are reasons behind this redesign. Some users have also reported a much shorter bio being implemented at the same time, which makes me wonder whether Instagram are intending to reduce the amount of bio space you get with the new bio. And I've heard this is quite restrictive, so no one's mentioned the amount of characters you get, but the people that have seen the new shortened bio are saying it's very restricted and you can't put much in there, which is not what we're used to. The only reason I can see for Instagram doing this would be to reduce the amount of space you have to conduct free advertising. So a lot of people conduct free advertising in their bio, generally by the companies that they're sponsored by, or in some way or another they're conducting advertising in their bio. And I'd say Instagram, now being owned by Facebook, are trying to reduce that and encourage people to use sponsored ads instead. That's my only guess. They're also rolling out a number of features to improve content management. Hooray. As it currently stands, I'm able to download an image on Instagram directly from the app once I have edited it. I have that feature right now, which is relatively new. I've also seen other people that have the ability to download images from another user. So they can scroll through their home feed and there's a download button on every photo and they can download it directly to their gallery, which is a step in the right direction from Instagram. I like this, and I'm hoping that it leads to increased resolution being supported by Instagram, and yeah, just ease of being able to download, send, repost images, as opposed to using like a repost app. Also, just a minor point, they've moved IGTV from being a story sticker to having a dedicated tab. So I actually favor them moving this out of the story highlights. It felt kind of clunky to have IGTV in there with your story highlights, but having 5 tabs underneath feels a little bit cluttered, so we'll see where they go with that. I currently have 4 tabs on my profile, 5 on some of my alternate accounts. And I've seen them swap between 4 and 5 tabs in the past, and every time they go 5, I think that's too cluttered, and they've gone back to 4, so we'll see how long that lasts. Okay, let's crack straight into the questions. I'm going to go through quite a few of these today just to try and chunk away them. So the first one is from BlueXR5, who's also my new Apex duo partner, apparently. He asked whether he should swap from Samsung to iPhone. Don't know if this is a genuine question, but I said yes, because I'm a big fan of the iPhone and the camera that comes with it. Keegs, Cartel Candy Motorsport, has both an iPhone X and a Samsung Galaxy S8, I believe. And he's filmed, I've actually posted a couple of the videos he's recorded on his Samsung, and the stabilization is also impressive. A lot of people look at my videos that I record on the iPhone and they're like, wow, that is so smooth and stabilization is so good. And the iPhone XS and the X has a floating lens. So the camera lens actually floats inside the housing, which is like a mini gimbal or stabilization essentially. So I do rate the iPhone and the X and the XS, but I'm sure the competitors are, well, I advocate for iPhone. Go Apple. He also asked a question about post consistency, particularly when starting a new account. So he said, is it still important for me to post frequently, even though I'm a new account? And yes, most definitely. The progress of your account is pretty relevant to this question. It's the algorithm that favors regular generation of content, so you need to post regularly to obtain your maximum reach. I'd like to say 4 times a week, probably minimum, but I've seen the best results when posting at least daily, so once a day. And currently, right now, I'm posting twice a day. So leading up to my new car, I'm going to post twice a day. That's to increase reach, increase impressions, increase the amount of traffic that I'm getting before launching my new car, but also to pump through this content that I've got sitting there. I have no car right now, I'm carless, but I don't want to have a bank of golf content when I start posting my new car. So I want to push that out. I also want to increase traffic leading up to my launch. 2 a day for the next 4 or 5 days. Aquatech asked how I inspire people to engage on my content. So particularly he's asking his followers questions and his captions, but he's not seeing many responses from them. Now, I can't definitively tell each of you how to prompt your audience to engage. They're going to be different to mine, and they're going to be different from each other. But I can say that I've struggled with engagement and receiving comments for a long time, and it's something that I have experimented with. So I used to actually ask people to engage on my content, and that was through stories. Sometimes in the captions, I would say like, please go and comment on my images, or I would do games like the first 20 people to comment will get something in return. And nowadays I prefer to try and inspire natural engagement as opposed to asking for people and sort of receiving unorganic engagement or referral engagement. So I do this through posting controversial pictures, controversial captions, and I attempt to inspire engagement rather than asking for it. My goal is to make people feel a desire to engage rather than that desire to please me through engaging, if that makes sense. I would rather than naturally feel like they want to comment. This may not be possible with your media or your audience, which is why I say I can't definitively give each of you a guide for this. But I see it as the best way to organically increase engagement. There's nothing you can do to make people engage. These are real people, they're real humans. They're just like you, commenting on images. You can't make anyone engage. I now prefer to inspire people to engage than ask them to. So just keep that in mind, I guess. Crockboiler asked how I network with other businesses and pages. However, I'm going to cover this in an upcoming video because it should almost be a guide in itself. Recently, I've been networking with a huge list of companies, Volkswagen, and in fact, even up to Volkswagen USA's head of digital content, Audi Australia, Airlift, Vossen, Rotiform, X-Force, Flow Designs. And I've gained a huge amount of experience in approaching these brands, communicating with these brands on social networking, negotiating sponsorships, etc. So, I mean, I definitely say, I'm not saying that I'm a pro in this area. It's very different in Australia than it is to somewhere like America, where companies expect sponsorship applications, and most of them, like Vossen, Rotiform, Airlift, have applications on their page that you can fill out, like forms and we have nothing like that in Australia, but this is why I feel like, anyway, I'll do a future video on this because it's a detailed topic. And it's as much about marketing, PR, branding, etc. as it is Instagram. It's not really an Instagram, I will cover it, but it's not really an Instagram topic. It's more about marketing, I feel, and understanding what you're offering those brands and what they will offer you in return. A lot of people send me messages and they're like, hey, how do I get sponsored? And for starters, you've got to understand what you're offering those brands, and that is reach. And then, you see memes from photographers like, oh, reach doesn't equal any money. But what you're actually doing as an influencer is selling products through creating desire for that product. So you are influencing people by creating desire in them to have a product, and then they're going to go out and buy it. So I did X-Force's exhaust launch single-handedly. Like, I was the only avenue for their launch. They didn't have any other influencers. They didn't have any other marketing campaigns, I mean, aside from their own advertising. Flow Designs, similarly, I launched their redesigned Mark 7R front or full lip kit, and both of those launches were very successful, especially Flow Designs, which broke records for any of their product launches, which was particularly surprising because it was a redesign and not a new product launch. So they redesigned the Mark 7R kit and broke records on that launch. And I was the only avenue for that product launch. But you really need to understand what you're doing, and that is creating desire for a product and what you're offering those companies and brands. Long story, another video. I've got a long list of videos growing that I need to do, and I will get, I've got a list right in front of me of video ideas for upcoming Patreon videos, and I will do all of them once we get through the guide. Anthony asked why I put my hashtags in the comments section as opposed to directly in the description. I've tried both of these, and a long time ago, we're talking over a year ago here, there was a difference, and we found that sometimes placing hashtags in the comments wouldn't cause them to apply, and people thought you were shadow banned, but really hashtags in the comments just didn't work for a period of time. I think that's all been fixed. I put that down to a bug at the time, and I've done testing since and can confirm it doesn't matter whether you put them in the caption or in the comments. A point to note here is that other users' hashtags in your comments section doesn't apply. So if someone else comes in hashtags or puts a hashtag in your comments, it doesn't apply. Your media doesn't show in there. Only the ones that you apply in the comments do, and you're still limited to 30. However, I haven't found any other difference between putting them in the caption and putting in the comments, and it just appears cleaner, in my opinion, to have them in the comments. I favour placing them in the comments as it provides a cleaner look and keeps your caption space minimal. Anthony also asked whether posting albums was beneficial to engagement. Although I've not done much testing with album posts myself, from what I've seen, they're not awarded any additional engagement when it comes to the algorithm. So they're simply treated as a photo post, a regular post. That said, as a consumer or non-influencer on Instagram, I personally appreciate when other people post albums, as I get more value for my money. I get more substance to that post. So a single post can contain, I'm actually not sure what the limit is, but can contain multiple images. And I feel as like a consumer on Instagram, as a user, that I get more substance to those album posts. So I can see 4 or 5 images in a single post. And I personally appreciate that. But I also know as a content creator or an influencer, you're burning through content much more quickly. In future, I might trial posting photos from the same set into a single album. So if we do a photo shoot and all the photos look similar, I might post them in an album, but I would only do that when I have an abundance of content, because you're potentially turning 5 posts into 1. And no matter how much, well, within reason, it doesn't matter how much better that album post performs, you're probably not going to equal the reach of 5 individual posts in my mind. Anthony also asked the difference between impressions and reach. So reach is the amount of unique users that have seen your content within a week. For example, so if you go into your analytics and look at reach, that figure is the amount of unique people that have seen your content in the week. Whereas impressions are the amount of time your content has been seen within a week, but collectively, not by unique users. So if a single user sees 5 of your posts in a week, that's 1 reach, but 5 impressions. So 1 unique user has seen your images 5 times. Jacob asked whether comments made by you in your comments section were counted towards the algorithm, and also whether you should remove and or repost old content. Now, while I don't believe the algorithm considers your own comments in its equations, I have noticed that quickly replying to comments in your own content can increase engagement, and comes under inspiring people to engage on your content. So we're just talking about inspiring people. I reply to the large majority of my comments if they have any substance to them. Like I don't reply to emojis, but if someone asks a question or makes a substantial comment, I'll reply to it. And I've seen that users will then comment purely to receive a reply from me. So that is inspiring people to engage organically, and it increases my engagement by replying to my own, replying to comments on my own media. And I've got an example of it from today, actually, check. As for removing and or reposting old content, I've done both of these in the past. I know that you can also archive old posts as opposed to deleting them, but I can't tell you which is best. I wish we had more information from Instagram on this as to like the consequences of deleting or archiving old content, but I suspect there probably are no consequences. Any impact they have on your averages or your history would be permanent, regardless of whether you delete or archive them. That is what I would suspect. I have reposted old content at times when I've been lacking for content, and I've found positive results here, especially when I've reposted content, say when I'm at 100K, and I haven't posted it since maybe 10 or 20K. The large majority of my new audience haven't seen that content, and you need to consider this as you grow. So I would limit the reuse of old content. However, if you haven't posted something since you were at 20K and you're now at 100, the large majority of your audience won't have seen that content. So yeah, you can repost old content. Jess XR5 has asked for some editing tips and tricks. And again, I think this warrants another entire video, and it is on my list of things to do at editing and content management tutorial. So I will do that. On my IGTV, there is a really quick editing tutorial on mobile. Someone asked how to edit a photo on mobile, and I chucked up a quick video, which is like a time lapse of me editing, to show off how much you can do on mobile. It's pretty impressive. Go and check it out. But I'm going to do a full-on editing and content management video once we get through the guide. Black GT asked what he can do to increase overall reach, aside from the use of hashtags, but I don't think there's much outside of what I've already covered in both the guide and the videos. Hashtags are the avenue through which we achieve reach, and your individual post performance dictates how far down those avenues you travel. You can further increase reach by engaging on other users' content, by replying to comments on your content, but I don't think I can provide any additional insight than what I've already put in the PDF and in these videos. I mean, with that said, every bit of information I share in this video and in future videos will serve to increase your reach, but I feel like I've already covered the main methods for increasing engagement, particularly in the guide. There's no secret tricks here to increasing engagement. I have mentioned that I have a few methods I use, like going and liking old comments on new content, but we'll save these for videos where I talk about regaining your reach or regaining lost engagement. I think I really have covered the main avenues for increasing your reach, I think. Hashtags being the biggest of those. Unruly has asked about my biggest setbacks and how I overcame them. I think the biggest challenge I've faced is keeping content fresh and engaging, especially when my subject is a single car. People can really only look at the same car so many times, and keeping my content fresh over the 3 years that I've been posting on Instagram has been challenging. This has required creativity from me and from my group to keep coming up with new things. Still videos are a good example of this. If you might have seen those videos I posted where my car is completely still, not moving in the video. I think I've got the indicator on in most of them. Parked on the side of the road, there's buses streaming past, music playing. They were a great example of creating something new that I hadn't really seen on Instagram yet, and they all perform really, really well. Keeping things fresh and engaging. I think MK7R, aka Cuzzy, aka MK7R_GPSRT8 did very well on Instagram because he was constantly changing his car. He was constantly changing the wrap or the color or the mods or the wheels, and it felt like every post was almost a new car. So one of the biggest challenges I face is keeping it fresh. This is going to be a bigger problem for some than others. For us, with individual cars, it's going to be a problem. People will get sick of your car eventually, and it's the primary reason that I'm upgrading. I love my Golf. I am upgrading to a new model or a new car to keep my Instagram fresh, literally to the point where Tidy's become a business, and I'm now upgrading just for that, to further that business. I loved the Golf, and I didn't have many motives for upgrading. Which really leads into all of my remaining questions, and they're all about experiencing a dip in improvement or in growth. Expectedly, this has come about a month into the guide. So my second biggest setback is probably performance anxiety or overanalyzing posts, both of which I've completely gotten over. I've moved past both of those, but they have proved as challenges for me. So Instagram is not a constant. It's always changing. The algorithm's changing. The user base is changing. The amount of people active at any one time is constantly changing. Every year around Christmas Eve or around that December period, we see a huge dip in engagement as worldwide people are busy on holidays or spending time with their family. They're not on Instagram. They're not on their phone. Engagement rate and your improvement on the platform is definitely not a static number, and I guarantee you'll go through times of high and low engagement. So I take a lot of holidays, and I can almost directly correlate my engagement dips with when holidays are at their most expensive. So the price of holidays rise when people want to take holidays. So December, January, expensive, and July, after tax time, holidays are expensive. School holiday period's expensive, and during those times, I see the lowest periods of engagement because people are on holidays. Starting to go a little bit off track here, but the point I'm trying to make is that Instagram isn't static. You're dealing with real people with real lives. I may gain 2,000 followers a week for a month, and then on that 5th week, I may only gain 100 followers. And that's just because Instagram is a changing platform. The platform may have just been quiet that week. People might be on holidays. School holidays might have come, and parents are busy looking after their kids because the kids are busy playing video games. Holiday periods are consistently quiet on Instagram. A lot of you have seen an immediate improvement in engagement, in reach, or in post performance immediately after implementing strategies in this guide. So I've given you this guide, and in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, you've seen a huge growth or improvement every week. We're now in the 5th week, and I'm receiving quite a few messages from people saying, hey, I've improved every week so far, but in the 5th week, I didn't really improve, or I've plateaued and I haven't continued to increase at that rate. And that's just how Instagram is. If you go back and you look at my growth over the past couple of years, it looks basically like a staircase. It's hard for me to demonstrate because I've changed my name a couple of times, but I do have a couple of graphs I can use. Every time I plateau, I've had to change things up, consider new methods for posting or increasing engagement, creating new content, new formats. I've had to change something up on my car, add another modification, change the wheels, collaborate with someone new. It's an ever-changing game, and you need to constantly be growing and adapting. Something I've also stressed in my replies to these messages is that if you're looking at the followers gained, as long as you're above 0, you're at a profit. So a lot of you set your baseline or your expectations in the first few weeks, and that was a mistake. So you might have picked up the guide in week 1, and in week 2 or 3, you were seeing, I know for a fact, some of you were seeing 5 or 1,000 follower gains per week. And some of you set these as your baselines. You expected that to continue, and that was completely unrealistic. I've had weeks on Instagram where I've gained 5,000 or 6,000 followers in a week, but I recognize those as peaks and I manage my expectations so that I didn't get down in the following weeks. I may have only gained 500 or 600 followers in the week following, but that's still a gain of 500 or 600 followers. 500 or 600 real people have followed me in that week. And you will feel down after coming from a week with 5,000 or 6,000 followers, but you've got to manage your expectations, and you've got to realize that you're still growing, you're still profiting here. there's a limit to the amount of followers you can pick up. You cannot keep increasing that value every day. I don't know of any of you that are actually going backwards, i.e. losing followers. I don't think that's the case for anyone. So you just need to realize that growth is not static on Instagram. Going back to the same conversation, go and look at my growth history over the last 2 years. There's been weeks and weeks and weeks where I've gained 20, 50 followers a week, 100 followers a week, or, you know, very minimal amounts. And then I'll change it up, or I'll wrap the car, or I'll chuck new rims on it, or I'll create a still video, or I'll collaborate with someone. Something will happen and I'll gain 2, 3, 4,000 followers in a week. And then that'll roll on for a few weeks and then it will drop off again. And I don't think I've ever really lost followers except after maybe doing a giveaway or going on holidays, but it's not a static increase. It's not necessarily a bell curve. I think I've talked enough on this, like I'm just driving myself crazy here, but you need to understand the rate at which you grow is not going to continue to increase forever. Okay, let's crack into section 6 and 7 because time's starting to get on and we're still going through questions. I'm at the 28-minute recording mark. Okay, so section 6 of the video, the home feed versus the explore feed. Now, again, I refer to that video I linked in the guide itself, which was Inside the Algorithm 2017, I think it was called. So the home feed provides you with 81 images from people you follow, ordered first by post time and then by performance. So it's broken up into chronological blocks, and then within those blocks, you see what ranks the highest. So the first block might be in the last 3 hours, and it might show you 3 or 4 pieces of content from the last 3 hours. And the 3 or 4 that it shows you are ordered by their performance, so how well they performed. However, if you scroll for long enough in your home feed, you will see every single image from every single person that you follow. And that is important. This whole process is described by Instagram's lead software engineer as putting the people you care about first. So when they came up with the ranked feed, the ranked home feed, that was a slogan that he used a lot. So up until December 2017, the Explore feed provided you with content that was trending. So the second tab, the Hourglass tab, showed you content that was popular. So every single image in there had a large amount of likes. It was a pretty common goal to appear on the Explore tab as it meant that your content was trending, it was performing well. This was relatively reproducible, so I could consistently land my content on the Explore tab, and it was also another key to my growth, was landing all of my content on the Explore tab. This has now changed. So post December 2017, the Explore tab behaves very differently. December 2017? Yeah, around a year ago now. So I noticed initially that content on the Explore feed as of December 2017 wasn't necessarily trending or even performing that well. It was just that Instagram has recognized or created a relationship between you and the poster, or you and the content they're posting, or the genre they're posting in. And this is done in a lot of ways through machine learning. Instagram don't share that information, but just know that the Explore tab now shows you things that the Instagram platform thinks you're interested in, which is a good thing for us. So rather than relying on post performance now, Instagram will show your content to people that it deems are interested in it, regardless of how well that post performs. So previously, you were at a very big disadvantage if you were coming up against bigger users. So like in the MK7R hashtag, for example, or just the Explore feed in general, you were not going to show in there unless you were really performing well, unless you were getting a large amount of likes and engagement. The new model isn't like that, so it's easier, it's more common for your content to be shown to new people in the Explore feed. So Instagram did actually confirm a rework of the Explore feed to instead display content and things you care about, which no one really understands yet. In the video that I linked in the guide, Thomas Dimson, one of Instagram's lead software engineers and the founding technical lead for Instagram's feed ranking project, explained the process of designing and implementing Instagram's feed algorithms, so both the home and the Explore feed. He talks about the methods Instagram uses to determine who the people are that you care about, so the links and relationships it creates in that Explore page. And he mentioned that some of the methods they were using was the content that you've liked previously, the people you message on Instagram, the people you search for, and the people that you have external connections with, so through other platforms like Facebook, to determine what is important to you, what in content you want to see. And that to me is very much how the Explore tab feels now. Okay, so section 7, buying followers and the effectiveness of shoutouts. So buying followers is the absolute worst thing you can do for your account. Bought followers are completely dead weight. They don't engage in your content, they tank your engagement rate, and they tank your account. They tank those averages we've talked about. Trust me, don't buy followers, let's just leave it at that. Although this is a very rough estimation, I usually refer to 500 to 1,000 likes per 10,000 followers as a good indication of an organic account. So if you've got 10,000 followers and around 1,000 likes per post, I would generally class that as organic from a glance. at 100,000 followers, you should be getting around the 10,000 like mark, roughly, at a quick glance. So, I mean, this differs greatly depending on your genre. If you're a thotty female Instagram account, you're going to have a larger amount of engagement, unfortunately. I've also seen that the bigger the account is, the more this varies, and actually the lower this is. So the bigger you grow, the less engagement you receive. And this is easily visible on an account like Instagram. I haven't got numbers in front of me, but if you go and look at Instagram's engagement rate, like at Instagram, it's low. So are celebrities even, like Ariana Grande. She receives a shit ton of likes, but her actual engagement rate compared to the amount of people that follow her is relatively low. Earlier on when I was smaller, I saw a much larger engagement rate, and I've seen that decline as I grow. So I suppose as an account grows over a longer period of time, collective and active followers is inevitable as people cease using Instagram, that kind of thing. But you'll form your own opinions, calculations over time. For me, it's 1,000 likes per 10,000 followers, but you'll form your own calculations as you become familiar with the app. So shoutouts are an important tool to aid in the growth of your audience. They refer potential audience to your content and to your page. They temporarily extend your audience to the audience of whichever account is reposting your media. So for an example there, if MK7 owners repost one of my content, they've got 70,000 followers. Those 70,000 followers temporarily sort of become like my followers because they're looking at my content. And some of them will click through and check out my channel. Some of them may follow me or like or engage on my own content. However, shoutouts are often overvalued. I know people sell and buy shoutouts for quite a large sum of money, and in my mind, that is never worth it. So even content featured on a 4 million strong page, such as Stance Nation, only receives on average something like 30,000 likes per post, which is less than 1% engagement, by the way. So even if 5% of the people that engage on that content click through to view my account on Stance Nation, that's only 1,500 views from an account with 4 million followers. How many of those 1,500 do you think will actually follow me or engage on my content? Probably pretty low. And that's from a page with 4 million followers. I might get 1,500 profile views. So don't overrate the value of shoutouts. I'd say they are important for growing your page. And I've touched on previously the importance of tagging people in your images that may repost it. And that does lead to additional reach. It does lead to initial followers, especially when getting off the ground. But don't overvalue shoutouts. No single shoutout is going to cause you to boom. I've been reposted by most huge pages, including Stance Nation, and I might see a small spike in profile views that week, but nothing drastic. Again, 1%ers. A lot of shoutouts all add up to a new audience, but one shoutout on its own is no big deal from anyone. Buying super likes or shoutouts is often also discussed, especially in the forums, but I caution you to think carefully before purchasing these. Does the account that you're approaching for a shoutout have a similar target audience to you? Does their engagement rate indicate that they're an organic account? As I just said, shoutouts are expensive, so I wouldn't be purchasing them from anyone. So to summarize, regular shoutouts are an important tool to growth, but no single shoutout will make or break you. So forge those relationships with repost pages, MK7 owners, Volkswagen Originals, German Refined, etc. So that when you post content, it gets shared by these pages automatically and your audience is temporarily extended to be their audience. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there. I think we're at the 38-minute recording mark and there's been a lot of bloopers in this, so I think that'll cut right down probably 20 or 30 minutes. I apologize if I've rambled a bit or if this has been a little bit harder to follow than my usual videos. We had a lot of questions that were difficult for me to answer and I'm really tired at the moment. I've had like 5 hours sleep last night, so my apologies. I will try to do better. As always, shoot through any questions you've got. DM me on Instagram, DM me on Patreon, chuck them in the video comments and I'll get back to them next video. Thank you to everyone who's stuck on for another month and thank you for everyone who signed up new in February. I really appreciate it, guys. I really look forward to helping each and every one of you and to growing myself. So let's do it together. Peace.